LIHEAP is an incredibly important program. It's getting zeroed out in the budget. I know that you played a major role in Idaho in administering the LIHEAP program there. It's really, really important in Vermont in those cold winters. I mean, what's your view on zeroing out the budget for LIHEAP?
So Senator, as the nominee, I'm not involved in any of the budget discussions that have occurred to date. My understanding from the congressional justification is that the Trump administration...
I'm not asking you what the congressional justification is. I'm asking you your position on zeroing out a program that you administered in your state of Idaho and presumably thought was beneficial to the citizens of Idaho. That's what I'm asking.
During a tense Senate confirmation hearing, Dr. Adams, a nominee from Idaho with a long history of administering the Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, found himself at the center of a heated exchange. Senator Bernie Sanders pressed Adams to give a clear personal opinion on the Trump administration's proposal to eliminate LIHEAP from the federal budget. What followed was a revealing back and forth that showcased the clash between political loyalty and professional experience, as well as the real-world stakes for vulnerable families in cold-weather states.
Dr. Adams, I want to ask you a few questions. I understand you're from the great state of Idaho.
Yes, sir.
Should we? You know that guy? Thank you. LIHEAP is an incredibly important program. It's getting zeroed out in the budget. I know that you played a major role in Idaho in administering the LIHEAP program there. It's really, really important in Vermont in those cold winters. I mean, what's your view on zeroing out the budget for LIHEAP?
So Senator, as the nominee, I'm not involved in any of the budget discussions that have occurred to date. My understanding from the congressional justification is that the Trump administration...
I'm not asking you what the congressional justification is. I'm asking you your position on zeroing out a program that you administered in your state of Idaho and presumably thought was beneficial to the citizens of Idaho. That's what I'm asking.
Senator, I would characterize my position as similar to what the Secretary has told the Senate, which is LIHEAP, the administration is trying to lower energy prices for all Americans. If that doesn't happen in Congress...
Look, you spent a lot of your professional career helping folks who needed low-income heating assistance. So you have a view about the program. You committed yourself to the administration of this. So I understand you're not the boss in terms of what the overall budget is, and you'll have to go along with the program. But I'm asking you, as a person who did really good work for the people of Idaho, administering the LIHEAP program, what do you think about zeroing out that program?
Senator, I'll reiterate what the Secretary said. If Congress funds it, we'll get the money out the door.
But the president is zeroing it out, and you're not in Congress. You're not working for Senator Crapo. You're working for President Trump, right? So my question goes back to, what's your view about zeroing out the LIHEAP program?
So as a former state budget director, I would say no budget decision is ever made in a vacuum. It has to look at the total picture. And because this is an administration that's committed to energy policies, more permits than any administration.
So you won't answer, basically. You know, when you started talking about the market, the whole point of LIHEAP is it's people who don't have the resources to participate in the market. They have no control over A, the weather, and B, the price of home heating fuel, right?
Senator, I think, in states like mine, we have policies that prohibit shutting off of utilities for certain critical months. I think you're going to have to take into account the nuances and all the other factors in the market.
I'll just say candidly, I really admire the work you did in Idaho on the LIHEAP program, among other things, and I'm really disappointed in from my perspective, lack of candor about what your view is about zeroing out a program you worked really hard on.
The Low-Income Home Energy Assistance Program, LIHEAP, has long been a lifeline for millions of Americans struggling to pay their heating bills. In states like Vermont and Idaho, where winters are harsh and energy costs high, LIHEAP ensures that families are not forced to choose between keeping the heat on and putting food on the table. Yet, despite its widespread impact, the Trump administration proposed zeroing out funding for LIHEAP in its budget request, igniting bipartisan concern in Congress. When Dr. Adams, a nominee with extensive experience in state-level administration of LIHEAP, appeared before the Senate, Senator Bernie Sanders seized the opportunity to press him directly. Sanders began by acknowledging Adams' background in Idaho and his professional commitment to helping low-income households afford heat. He pointedly asked Adams for his personal view on the proposed elimination of the program. Adams, however, avoided a straightforward response. He insisted that, as a nominee, he was not involved in the budget discussions and cited the administration's energy policies aimed at lowering prices overall. Sanders cut him off, making clear that he was not asking for the official justification but Adams' own view. "You committed yourself to the administration of this program," Sanders said, "and I presume you thought it was beneficial to the people of Idaho. What do you think about zeroing it out?" Adams continued to deflect, reiterating that, if Congress chose to fund LIHEAP, his department would get the money out the door. But Sanders reminded him that he would not be working for Congress. He would be working for the president, who was proposing to cut the program entirely. The exchange grew more pointed as Sanders highlighted the fundamental reality. LIHEAP exists precisely because low-income families cannot influence the energy market or control the weather. Market-based solutions, Sanders argued, fail to address the vulnerability of those who depend on the program. Adams countered by referencing state policies that prevent utilities from shutting off heat during critical months. But he continued to dodge a direct endorsement of LIHEAP. Frustrated, Sanders concluded by expressing disappointment. While he admired Adams' past work in Idaho, Sanders criticized his lack of candor in refusing to state plainly whether he believed eliminating LIHEAP was a mistake. This hearing moment captures a recurring theme in confirmation hearings. Nominees often struggle to reconcile their past professional record with the political agenda of the administration they are joining. In Adams' case, his refusal to speak openly about LIHEAP underscored the political pressure nominees face to align with the White House, even when doing so conflicts with their own history of public service. For families who depend on LIHEAP, however, the stakes go far beyond political theater. The debate represents a question of survival. Without assistance, countless households in cold weather states risk losing heat during the winter months. The program's elimination would not simply be a budget line, it would translate into real suffering for millions of Americans. The Adams-Sanders exchange reflects more than just a Senate sparring match. It highlights the real-world consequences of budget decisions and the tension between administrative loyalty and human need. At its core, the fight over LIHEAP is about whether government chooses to protect its most vulnerable citizens or prioritizes ideological commitments to austerity and market solutions. For Sanders, the nominee's silence spoke volumes. For families in Vermont, Idaho, and across the nation, the question remains painfully clear. Without LIHEAP, who will help them keep the heat on when winter comes?